Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's episode of Let's Talk Dairy. On this morning's program, we're joined by John Douglas from the Grass10 team, and John is going to give us our usual 2-minute update on what's going on around the country. And then we're going to be joined in a few minutes' time by Steven Fitzgerald, a dairy farmer down from Aglish in County Waterford. Okay, John, we'll start with you first then, please. Just give us a brief update of what's going on around the country, John. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's huge variability, George. I know with grass there's always huge variability around the country, but there really is in terms of percentage grazed and regrowths back on paddocks. Like we have dry farms that have regrowths back at covers of like 1200 even
Yeah.
last week, and then we have dry farms that were grazed around the same time early on, and their covers are the recovery is lower. Maybe they're still only at 600-700. And then we have heavy farms that have a lot grazed and some with not much grazed. So there's a huge level of variation. That would be the starting point in this. But farmers, in fairness, have noticed, protein drops and stuff in the milk over the last couple of weeks with silage going into the diet. So they're really pushing to, on-off graze and to try and get them out and keep the protein up. Because in a lot of cases silage is tight, so therefore maybe even the quality of the silage being fed is probably questionable in some cases as well. Average farm cover is stable enough where it has been for the last few weeks. The demand there at 27 is actually looking like it's going to be below growth in a lot of cases next week. So that'd be a good case for pulling back some silage. We can see here this is the average of what's being fed in pasture base. So maybe reducing that to something like 2 kilos of silage and 12 kilos of grass. That's what we're looking at. So we could probably increase grass intakes in a lot of cases. So there is 1 to 2 inches of rain predicted over the next week in places. Soil temperatures are good, so it's still going to remain challenging for grazing. So we start with just maybe on the dry farms. We need to hold average farm cover around 600 kilos of dry matter per hectare. That means we keep grazing covers over 1,000 basically. And we need to check regrowths. That the top 3 paddocks are somewhere between 11 to 1,200 for starting the second rotation. And we can transition into the second rotation whilst finishing off the first. So if you have a paddock at 13 or 1400 today, there's no harm in grazing that and going back into an older paddock that hasn't been grazed yet in the evening time or whatever. So we can do that and basically transition into that. So are you on target? Do you need to speed up? Do you need to stretch? Those decisions need to be made. On heavy farms then we're seeing maybe only 50% grazed. Lots of heavy cover still left to graze, and the stuff that was grazed early during February time is now catching up with that. So I would be thinking like over the next couple of weeks that farmers might have to dip into that second rotation on heavy farms and graze the covers that were grazed that well earlier on in the year, keep them grazed well and keep on top of those whilst they're finishing the first round. And again, heavy farms are going to have to make the most of on-off grazing again over the next week to keep grass in the diet. Fertilizer wise, George, we're looking at probably around 60 units out by next week on dry farm or dry paddocks maybe, including slurry and fertilizer. So 60 units total or 75 kilos a hectare total. On heavier farms, you're looking at maybe 45 units per acre in total out, or about 52 or 55 kilos per hectare.
Okay. Thanks very much, John, for that brief synopsis of what's going on and the advice for the coming week.
No
Okay.
worries, thank you.
Now, we're going to hand over here. We're going to turn over now to Stephen. I know Stephen for many years. Stephen worked with us down in Moore Park for many years. You down there for Stephen?
9 years, I think, George, yeah.
You got away from us then about 4 or 5 years ago, was it?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, you didn't really get away from us. I only think you did. We have long tentacles. We hold on to our own. So Stephen, where are you farming?
West Waterford, Aglish, West Waterford, yeah.
Okay.
In a relatively dry enough area, yeah.
I'd be a good old spot. And farm with your dad, Richard, down there, isn't that it?
Yeah, myself and the father, and then the mother helps out, and Katrina then as well. She's helping out as well for the springtime, so yeah.
Busy farm in the spring. So how many cows are you milking down there? So will you milk this summer?
The plan for the summer is kind of 185 to milk. There's 7 left to calf and things like that. So we're kind of been creeping up cow numbers with the last few years. So I'd say this is our kind of number. We hope to kind of balance out it.
And what's the size of the milking platform then, Stephen, you're racing on?
Oh, just small breaks are going in now this year, but I'd say there's about 85 hectares of milking platform. So we're relatively lowly stocked on the milking platform and things like that. And that's the way we plan to stay kind of average, lowly stocked and cut back on our nitrogen use maybe.
Okay, but you're calling it lowly stock, but you're still stocked to the cow, near enough a cow to the acre at the same
That,
time.
that's it exactly. Yeah, it's easy enough managed. Yeah.
It's all kind of relative to the grass that's growing, and we're going to come back to that in a few weeks' time with talking about matching grass to grazing. So, what kind of grass yields are you achieving on down there? I know you're prone to drought down there too, wouldn't you?
Yeah, last autumn we got dry again, but I'd say we grew 13 ton every year with the last kind of 4 or 5 years. So like
Okay.
it's able to grow it, like, but like the soil indexes are fairly good too, and we're always kind of watching them, and it's easy, it's easy to manage it. It is growing, like,
Okay. So besides the milking platform, there's an outblock as well, Stephen, isn't there? Another, is it 40 hectares?
Yeah, they're kind of 2 bits away. They're only 2 miles away, but we use that for silage and heifers, and we rear some beef cattle then as well, just as kind of a hobby.
Ah, no, well, it's a solid income there too. So overall stocking rate around the livestock, 2.5 livestock units a hectare across the whole
Yeah, 2.3 to 2.4 the whole farm average last year. Yeah.
So there's a substantial enough beef unit there as well. We'll come back to that in a minute, maybe we'll talk about the beef and side of the house. What kind of milk solids did you sell last year, Stephen?
Last year, 498, I think, last year, which was slightly back in the last few years. Because we left cows on once a day up to into March last year, and I don't think they recovered properly. Not recovered, but we didn't get a massive peak out of them last year, so we lost a lot of milk early in the year. But and then the drought hit us in. But anywhere around 500, we'd be happy with. 520 would be the kind of target. 525.
On how much meal roughly? Ton?
800 kilos, yeah. 750, 800 kilos, yeah.
Okay, so good solid grass-based farming going on there. I heard John there talking about the low proteins and in the milk and silage in the diet. What's the story at your farm now? How's that going?
We were excellent all February, say, but then when the weather turned, we had to bring the cows back in, say, in and out and on off and everything like that. So the protein fell from 358, and we're kind of 336 and 338 at the moment. But there is a couple of kilos silage in nearly every day, with say 2-3 kilos and a small bit of fodder beet, just when it's wet. But we're trying to get as much grass into them every day, which seems to be holding the protein at kind of 338 mark. So hopefully it'll hold.
Does it bounce back quickly when you get grass full time again?
It generally takes 10 days or a fortnight, and it isn't as fast to go up as it comes down, unfortunately. But it will go back up. It's in the cows, hopefully. So
okay. Tell us a bit about the calving season this spring. So you've only 7 or 8 left to calve. When did you start?
First one was due the 5th of February. So the first one came along around 1st or 2nd of February. And it's been kind of going fairly hard up till Paddy's Day, but it's very quiet now at the moment. So we had a good first 3 or 4 weeks, which is a great start. Calves are together in their evening and things like that. And we had a lot of milk in February and the start of March, which is great help, Are
there many heifer calves in it?
We used sex semen last year and it worked very well. So we had about 60 heifers. So we sold some surplus, and we had a couple of sets of half twins and things like that. But the plan is to keep 42 heifer calves, and then rear about 110 or 15 beef calves, and sell whatever left, and a few small Frisian bull calves and a few surplus heifers.
Were there many Frisian bulls for sale this year? Or have you had
13.
13 and 60 heifer calves?
Yeah, and there's a couple of half twins in them as well, yeah.
Oh, you must have. You must tell us about the sex semen then, just to move on just a little bit and come back to the composition of milk yield in a minute.
But we'd like first to really trying it.
Yeah.
And so, what did we buy? 100 sex semen straws last year.
Okay.
So we had there was 168 cows and 40 heifers last year. So for the first 2 weeks, we just used all sex semen and the highest DBI, highest fertility cows and heifers and things like that for the first 2 weeks. And then we used Gene Ireland bulls for the last 5 or 6 days of that. And then we switched to Angus then straight away after 3 weeks breeding. So we had all our Frisians in the first 3 weeks, and then we're straight into Angus then.
A serious change, isn't it? You seem to have got a good strike with it too, around the 60% mark, was it?
Yeah, exactly. 58 and 62 depends on the bulls, but 60% average, yeah.
Which would obviously,
higher than we expected, so we're happy with it.
You're an advocate of it after that, I'd say.
Yeah, the exact same plan this year. It probably won't work as well, but if it isn't far off, we'll be happy,
And it was sexed on the heifers and a few of the better cows, sort of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, the sexed on nearly all the heifers got sex semen, And then second, third, and fourth lactation, the highest DBI and highest fertility ones. Tonight, the cows are our favourite cows, such.
You wanted to go and calve the first time anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't do too many of the first calvers because felt they'd be under the most pressure. So I gave some of them Gene Ireland bulls and some of the better condition ones sex semen. But then, like, it all conception was good. Like, we didn't just put sex semen on everything and anything. Like, we're fairly picky and choosy about it.
It's fabulous going all together. And did you use a sync program on the heifer, Stephen, or anything like that?
Yeah, the simple one, the double shot PG, 11 days apart and things like that. And they were all served in over kind of 2 days. And it worked.
No
kind of
collars.
Sorry?
No collars or anything, Stephen. It's just
just simple straightforward tail paint and
good. I want to go back to Stephen a bit. I want to go on to the milk and then the grass. So tell us a bit about the milk first of all. How are they milking at the moment?
They're doing about what they're doing. They're about 29, 30, they're just touching 29, 30 litres at the moment. So they're doing 2.2, I'd say, kilos milk solids. They're a bit with it now the last few days.
So 330 proteins, and what's the fats? Around the 4% mark.
Yeah, 444 the last one, I say.
Okay, and what kind of meal level are they on now?
4 kilos of meal, 16%, because there's a bit of silage and things like that. Will drop back now, hopefully next week when they're full time, hopefully.
Okay. Any trouble with cell counters? You going okay?
41 at the moment, yeah.
Gosh, that's not a problem at all. And just want to move on then a bit just for a minute and just tell us about the spring grazing this year. So you were spoiled in February. Did you graze much?
Yeah, like we opened up with a lower cover than we'd like, I'd say, because the weather did that. Like, so it was only 680, 700 when we started.
Okay.
And so we grazed as much as we could in February on the wetter ground because it was so dry. We grazed paddocks that would generally wouldn't be grazed till late March, early April. Yeah. And we got slurry out in them. But we still tried to stay to the recommended targets as such. Okay. We didn't want to go too mad as such.
Yeah. And any regrets about doing that?
No, because if we did, we'd be starting the first round now as such in the last few days. Our second round during these few days. And if it is wet, it'll be another 5 or 6 days before we start. Like.
Yeah, just for everyone on the call here, listen to us here. Stephen pretends he has wet land, but I don't think it's that wet. Not that English anyway. So look, you're nearly out of the second round. We were having a chat there before we started, Stephen, and you have an idea about how you're going to transition from the overwintered grass to the spring grass. And what was the idea? What were your thoughts there, and why were your thoughts like that?
Like I'd say there's 4 or 5 days or 6 days maybe of 1,800 covers left.
Yeah.
And about 900, 1,000 of the first few paddocks that were grazed. And rather than grazing out and just starting dropping from 1,800 down to 1,000, 1,100, I'm going to do what the lads were saying earlier and just dip in and out for a few days and leave the second rotation paddocks fill up a small bit and transition the cows, give the cows a better chance rather than going from strong heavier grass down to short leafy stuff and give their stomachs a chance to adjust to it.
So kind of 3 or 4 days growing grass, the winter growing grass could turn into 8 days as you transition into the spring by giving it maybe at night and the other by day or something, is it?
Yeah, exactly, and see how it goes. I'd say start that Monday or Tuesday, and just kind of because the first 2 or 3 paddocks are very good, but what's coming after that, if we get a cold week next week, the paddocks are coming that they'll just need an extra few days, but if we do get a big burst of growth, we can easily just jump in and just keep going to the second round and leave a small bit at first if we have to.
I think it's an interesting thought because actually it was something that John Douglas picked up on there a few minutes ago as well in his presentation. He was kind of saying the same thing about it, maybe as an option for people. So there must be something in it. I've heard it 2 times now lately. So Stephen, the cows are out kind of full time. They get a bit of silage or a bit of fodder beat or something like that from the rain, I suppose.
Yeah.
And how much fertility have you applied?
2/3 of the platform has got slurry in January, some in January, some in February.
What was the response like to it?
Excellent, yeah. Excellent. Yeah, like you'd see any patches, there's a skip in the field, you'd notice the massive difference. Yeah. And then the whole platform then is after getting 27 units of protected urea as well. So I'd say we're at 40 units. So the plan is to blanket spread the platform now with 28 or 30 units protected urea as soon as the weather gets dry. And it's just get it up.
It might be next week. It's kind of feel a spring about it, hasn't it? At the moment?
Yeah, it's almost ready to go. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And you were in this whole signpost farm program. You're Tirlán, what we call monitor farm long ago. But what actions are you going to take this year to maybe enhance your sustainability credentials?
Oh,
Way I put it.
I'd say we're going to put a paddock of mixed species and another
Oh.
6 acres. We have some of that in with 3 years, and it's absolutely flying, and the cows love it. So that's one back our nitrogen, and just keep working on the clover. We have clover on the farm with years, and so just keep trusting the clover and things like that, and cut back the nitrogen a little bit, and just it all depends on weather and things like that. But they're the two kind of main ones, clover and the mixed species, I'd say.
Yeah, but on top of that, then you're doing less, I presume, this low emission soil spreading, and you're also doing criteria. So
100, all
it could go on a long way with those 4 actions on the farm. Then high EBI sort of a herd and well bred and all that kind of stuff. So
in interior it should work.
Yeah, so rather than worrying about it, I think there are terrific actions to be taken and moving on with. Come here. If anyone's any questions, just pop them in there now. And if we're waiting for a question or two, maybe there aren't any going to come. I'd ask you one question. Tell us about your experience with the multi-species, because it kind of is flavour of the month. How good it is, I don't know. You know, what are your thoughts?
Oh, geez, we'd be delighted with ours,
Okay. What did you put in?
Sorry.
What did you put in?
Oh, just one of the DFL 7. There's 7 varieties in it. There's chicory, plantain, red and white clover, timothy, and 2 other grass varieties. And it's good persistency in it. Like you can still see like 3 seasons done, and you can still see a lot of leaf in it and things like that. Like, so the next year or two will tell a lot. But the clover and things like that, like it only got, I don't know, the 25 units of chemical nitrogen last year, and it still grew 12 and a half, and it grew 13 tons, like so. But it got 30 water after every grazing.
Yeah.
But we're grazing it every 17, 18 days, grazing it light covers, and the cows were cleaning it out. So we were delighted with last year now.
So you go again anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. But like overall, it isn't a lot in the whole grand scheme of things. Like it's only a small percentage, like, and it's nice to have something different in it.
Would you go 100%?
In time, go on just to trust it more than anything. You know what I mean? Like, and persistency. Like if it's gone after 4 or 5 years, it'll be a costly exercise to have the whole farm. You know? But like say after 10 or 15% of the farm in it, that's 10 or 15% nitrogen you cannot spread, or I'll spread it somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know?
Give you a boost in other places.
Yeah.
Okay. What are look at Stephen, there's no questions coming in the call here now. So what are your 3 top tips for, we're not finished yet. Go back to it. Breeding plans for 2023. So you're a big Angus fan anyway, by the looks of things.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the coming breeding season now? I meant to ask you that.
Similar to last year. I have 106 semen straws bought, and then we have some Gene Ireland Frisian straws as well. So I'll use them on, say, the higher EBI cows for us 2 or 3 weeks. But we're going to start back to the start. We're starting pre-breeding now this weekend, so we'll have 4 or 5 weeks of pre-breeding before we start breeding as such. And we'll fix any cow if there's.
What does pre-breeding mean? It's just tail paint and write down the number, is it?
Yeah, but no, we're not even write down the number. Everything will be tail painted now this weekend, and 2 to 3 times a week is all. Anything the paint is completely gone, and they'll get a different colour. And at the end of the 3 or 4 weeks, a couple of days before breeding, then we'll scan anything or just check out any cow that's no tail paint gone off. Because majority of them should be over 40 days calf by the start of breeding now. Because we're just under 40 days away from breeding now, so there's only 7 left to calf. You know, they should all, in theory. Then yeah, go on.
No, you were saying about on the Angus side, you were saying it's Angus you use as your beef breed here then as well, and you have your own beef enterprise. You were saying there's some difference between the bulls that are available, isn't that right?
Yeah, huge. Even the difference between stock bulls and the AI bulls, like we're trying to use high DBI Angus bulls, and like the difference is huge. You can see it in the calves in the ground, like you can nearly pick out the AI, and like we generally try and buy as good an Angus bull as we can. But you can see it, you can see the difference as clear as day. Like as calves, yeah. Like
are they not harder calf then if they're kind of a chunkier calf?
No, they're not. No, definitely easier, because even one of the Angus bulls, like you can't trust him now. You have to watch him when he's calving, say as such. I trust the AI fellas more than I trust the stock bull fellas. Like, you know what I mean? But So any cow that we don't like or has a lower EBI gets Angus, and then after 3 weeks of AI, everything gets AI to Angus, and we live off the Angus bulls then as well. Like so, and we rear all the Anguses then at the end of next year.
And they're killed at what, 21, 22 months of age, is it?
Anywhere between 19 and 21, they don't get the second winter. So we try and get them off grass and a bit of meal and things like that, and kind of October, November into December, they'd be finished then, all of them. Yeah.
Steers and heifers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What kind of carcasses are they coming out at?
Oh, they have to. Oh, they're 260, 270 uppers. You'd be trying to get them to 500, 550 kilos live weight, and then at least you can make a few quid in them and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
And try and get much good grass into them as they're on grass now at the moment. They've been early on off graze more than the milking cows on silage ground. They've had a good start now, and they should kick on once they hit grass now full time next week.
Should go they'll fly at it. Yeah, exactly. Hey Stephen, listen, thanks very much for that. Leaving the call now, what are your 2 or 3 top tips for our farmer audience here today on the call?
Jesus.
What wouldn't you do without now at this stage? What are the 2 or 3 things you wouldn't do differently, or you would do this coming season?
Keeping it simple and straightforward is what we can try and do. Keep it simple, have one simple plan and stick to it. Don't overcomplicate it. Pick like with the AI and things like that, and just have it simple and straightforward, and do rather than having a heap of small things dipping in and out. Just focus on what's working, and that's what seems to work for us. Anyway, I know it's working, but that's what we're doing. You know, that's the most important.
Quick last question before we go, Steve. There's a question in from someone. What's the cutoff on EBI to get Angus? In other words, now you're selecting your top cows.
Yeah, the herd average is 212. So I'm here now 190, 200, depends on the cow and her solids. Like you know, when you're looking at the cow, you look at the milk recording and things like that. But generally, the up gets black and white and everything else blood, and that gets
around the 200 mark, basically.
Yeah.
With a few exceptions.
With a few exceptions, it depends on the personality of the cow and her dog, milk and everything like that. You know, but generally, then you're getting Frisians off cows that you like and cows that you can trust.
Yeah.
You know.
Perfect. That's a great answer. Hey guys and ladies, thank you very much for your attendance here today. And Stephen, thanks so much for sharing your ideas on our webinar this morning. And safe farming to everyone, including Stephen there and Richard. And the very best of luck.
Oh, thanks, George.
And especially your mother, Stephen, and your wife, because they're always the real workers behind the scenes.
Thanks, lad.
You're rearing a lot of calves there. Bye, guys.
Look, thanks. Bye.